The Avengers versus the X-Men versus the Eternals. This is an event known as Axe that came through the Marvel books a little while ago, and today we're going to be bringing you the full story of Axe right here. The sun rises over New York as Playboy millionaire Tony Stark sits in a high-end restaurant with the Eternal Cersei, stating that they should probably cut to the chase and save everyone a lot of time. Why are we going to be fighting within a day or two? Cersei laughs. Wow. Can't even let a girl finish her Bloody Mary first. Frankly, I'd much rather be picking a fight with the mutants. They're such plagiarists. Returning to life is our thing. Tony sighs. Yeah, you're not going to make this easy, huh? Cersei goes to take a drink, telling him that he knows that she has never been easy. At least, not in this. Before she could finish her sentence, there's a bright light in the sky as the Phoenix comes rocketing in, grabbing Cersei, taking her off into space. A few moments later, Carol Danvers radios in that the target is pacified. They'll bring her in. However, it isn't just the Avengers who have an inkling of a war coming. The mutant Destiny also sees it coming, but she can see who it is that they're going to be fighting. Who brings the war? The Eternals. The Eternals will try and kill the mutants. As for why, it is yet to be determined. Nightcrawler rushes in to inform the Quiet Council of Krakoa and the Great Ring of Arrakis. Back on Earth, Cersei begins to wake up struggling in her restraints, asking, "Where am I?" Tony walks up in his Iron Man suit, telling her that he needed a safe place to talk to her. So she is here in Avengers Mountain. But he is a bit suspicious. Cersei asks if he can just get this over with. Do you have a PowerPoint you want to show me or something to wow me into compliance? Well, last month, the Eternals snuck into the Avengers Mountain to try and get cosmic stuff. And it was only when your mission failed that you told us the truth. That Thanos was on Earth somehow leading the Eternals. I regret that, Tony. But there are things only the Eternals can know. And only we should stop Thanos. And we did. At that moment, the door opens, and a voice says, "This isn't the way, Tony. Cersei was an Avenger. We have to show her some trust." Captain America walks in, stating that the Eternals are going to war. "Tell us why, Cersei." Cersei plays coy for a moment, stating that the only war that there will be is when people find out how they've strapped her to an uncomfortable chair. Cap stares, and Cersei's eyes widen. You're serious? A war? An actual war? What do you know? Tony holds up a projection stating, "Thanks to you guys hiding Thanos, I've been monitoring for celestial energy. Last week we had a huge spike off in the Pacific. In the last 24 hours, there's been a steady pulse. Something is warming up." Cersei tells him that whatever it is, she's not a part of it. The Eternals aren't a team, they're a society that she and her friends left. She isn't the Eternal that they need to worry about. And that Eternal that she is referring to is Druge, which, just an hour prior, spoke before the Council about their need to correct excessive deviation. They've protected the Earth for over 1,000,000 years, but what they now face are deviants, and of course he's talking about the mutants. Their exogene came from the deviants. They're no longer humans, and they've already colonized Mars, and worse yet, they've escaped the chains of death itself. Their deviation will go on forever. That is why Druge has been honored to be the prime Eternal in these hours. The other Eternals know his plans, and he is just asking for approval from the Unimind. Let him bring fire and death to those whom it's their eternal duty to correct. And with a unanimous vote, Druge's plan was approved. Not only does Druge have the support of the Unimind, but he also has the insider information from another particularly vengeful mutant, Dr. Moira McTaggart. Thus, the psychic assault on Krakoa began. But while Professor X and the Quiet Council began their defense, Druge sent Uranus, the Undying, to lead the assault on Arrakis. But while the attack on Mars will provide a serious detriment in the revival process of the mutants, it wasn't Druge's main plan. He didn't want to stress the system, he wanted to remove it. And that would mean taking out one of its key members, Hope Summers. Wolverine caught wind of the assassin before they had arrived, but it was already too late. Jack of Knives had already incapacitated Hope Summers and stopped Wolverine from getting close before making his escape. While Druge knows of the mutant's key to revival, He also knows how to dismantle their leadership. An attack on the Five and the mutants' ability to revive wasn't the only target of this war. The attack on Araki was also coordinated with a planned attack on key figures, including Magneto. Druge's plan had worked, mostly. Jack and Knives was not successful in killing Hope, and because of that, he would enact the next part of his plan to remove the mutants, and that was to deploy the Hex. To ensure that the people of Earth rally behind him, Druge then sent out a message to everyone's tech device across the globe. Even though he could psychically tell the world, he felt that that was too invasive. Something that the dirty mutants would do. No, he decided to speak to the world with his own voice and reassure them that as their protectors, they are aware that the mutants have overstepped their bounds. However, they just have to ask everyone to not be afraid of the towering death machines that have emerged off the western seaboard of the United States. Captain America sees all of this coming through, and now with their information from Cersei, he calls out to assemble the Avengers. But before they even determine their plan of attack, the alarms go off to intruders. Tony rushes over as 3 people appear in the Avengers Mountain. The woman says that her name is Ajak, the Keeper of the Old Way. This is Makari, the Keeper of the New. And the annoying mutant with useful talents whom they gagged is Sinister. Allow them to explain. What the Avengers are facing right now is a holy war born of holy scripture. A god can rewrite the scripture and end the war. They just simply need to build a god. Help them build their god. Tony says that the plan is pure hubris. But speaking broadly, I'm pro-hubris. But how on earth do you think that we can make a god in a few hours? And Ajak looks around and informs them that Avengers Mountain, their home, is a god, and they're currently living in it. While Tony and the others get to work on figuring out how to create a god, the Hex move into Krakoa, forcing all mutants and X-Men to defend their homeland. But just as things begin to look grim, Cap and the Avengers jump in asking how they can help. Cyclops holds out his hand to shake Cap's, telling him, "Things are bleak, Cap." "I know, but they've been bleaker, Cyclops. We're gonna get through this. The whole world will see us standing together. Plus, Iron Man is working on a peaceful solution. In the meantime, what are your objectives?" Cyclops says that most mutants are non-combatants. They need to get them to defensive vaults. The Eternals are also trying to destroy their method of reincarnation. If they take that down, the Eternals win. Just handle the Hex and get people to safety. We'll protect the resurrection. Cap says he's on it. But even now, still keeping secrets? After everything we've been through, you should have told us, Cyclops. After everything? How could we, Cap? The battle rages on. The air support focusing on the flying Hex, while the more water-able heroes focus on the ones below. Namor manages to cut off part of the Hex, but as the attack continues, it misses, and Namor shouts asking, "You dare touch Namor!" Then there's another attack, and a shockwave is sent out into the ocean, sending a tidal wave aimed right at the Philippines. Jean Grey tells everyone that if they don't do something, thousands are going to die. And Cyclops tells Cap to hurry up and deal with the fallout. It's one less problem for them to worry about. Cap tells him thanks. You're heroes here, and one day, people will see the X-Men for what they really are. However, as the Avengers go to handle the tidal wave, all the other mutants just see the Avengers running from the fight, leaving them to fight on their own. They all call out, calling the Avengers cowards. And then, of course, they've left the mutants to their own devices. But after a long, hard-fought battle, they do prevail even without the Avengers' help. Thanks to their methods of resurrection, their losses aren't things to even worry about. Many perished, but many revived. Though their victory doesn't last long, the Hex are Eternals, and as their name implies, they too revive. This time, the Hex don't direct their attacks at the mutants, but they attack the island of Krakoa directly, because if there is no island, they can't evacuate or revive. The mutants pray for something, anything to deliver them, and their call is answered. A god is coming! Suddenly, the thunderous voice of a once-dead Celestial calls out, "Cease!" The Hex, descendants of the Celestials, all stop to their higher power, and they begin to retreat from Krakoa. Tony and the others celebrate for narrowly succeeding, and Ajax says that they have wrought a great work here today. They have their god, and their god is just. But the Celestial continues. People of Earth, listen. You are bickering children. This planet is ruined. You have acted with unrelenting unkindness to one another. You leave me no option. This is your judgment day. You have 24 hours to justify yourselves. You will be judged individually. You will be judged as a collective. If there is more that is just than wicked, you will live, and if you are found lacking, there will be no tomorrow. As the world watches and waits for judgment at the North Pole, many of the Avengers and Eternals question how their new god could be so unjust, determining all of Earth is not truly worthy of life. But while the world waits to be judged, the progenitor sees Captain America being the first to step in to solve their problem, and the progenitor decides to judge him. The projection of Cap's image begins to descend upon everyone, and the progenitor speaks that he is the dream of a better country, that this man has tried to inspire it for a century. This country is the world leader, and the world is what it is. It is worse every day, and you are a failure. The projection gives a thumbs down. Tony looks at Cap. If it judges Cap by that standard, what chance do the rest of us have? Cap stumbles to his feet. We're not playing its game. Not unless there's no other option. We have to find a way out of this. I'll try to keep the rest of the world calm. Cap begins to broadcast himself to the entire world, and Tony and the others hurry inside to determine the course of action. But as Tony is beginning to work at the internals of the god, thinking of what they could attack, Ajax tells him that they are not going to attack their god. Phastos says that death to it would cause a backlash to the Eternals. The war could be over, but if they destroy it and they unleash the unimaginable power that it holds, the explosion could be life-threatening. Ajax leaves, stating that they will find another way. But as she does, Phastos quietly says that now that the priests are gone, listen carefully. If they can find a way to do so safely, they should do it. Ajax is a believer. Makari is nearly as bad. The Eternals could make a sacrifice for them all. This is their fault. The world has outgrown the Eternals. However, he should know that if he starts this plan, they will have to act to stop it. Their principles will force them, and if they do it safely, and do it secretly. Mr. Sinister begins to laugh. Oh, how I love secrets. Make it safe and make it hell. Got it. But while he smiles to them, mentally he's reaching out to Destiny, asking if she can hear him. He has the most useful information that she could ever desire. While fighting a war in Krakoa, Destiny calls for a council meeting and Emma Frost asks if it can wait. An army of tireless Eternal psychics are giving her a rather pounding headache. Destiny insists, and as everyone is mentally brought in, she informs everyone of the Avengers' plans. However, they should know that it could cause considerable devastation. Time is of the essence, and the Eternals will block this unless they act swiftly. She calls for an immediate vote. Destiny, Shaw, Mystique, Exodus, and Hope all vote yes, while Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Kate vote no. And while Emma abstains, the motion is passed. The ones against question the morality that this could pose, but Destiny says that Jean and Scott left this circle due to moral quibbles. They chose to be the implements of policy, and they here are the Quiet Council. Nightcrawler asks if they can send in a strike force. They moved their best away from Krakoa, and the Eternals will overwhelm them. Emma says that she may be able to provide some assistance there. So moments later, at the battlefield on Krakoa, a gate opens as dozens of beings walk through, and Cyclops yells, "Look out! The Eternals have crossed the gates!" But the leader of the group corrects him. "We are not Eternals. Almost the complete opposite, really. My name is Crow, and we are the Deviants, and we are here to stand with our fraternity against the Eternal Persecutors." Cyclops says that the mutants are not deviants, and Crow says, "Well, we can pass through your gates. We share enough genes for that. But to be honest, new friend, anyone on the wrong end of the Eternals is enough for the deviants. Save the world, X-Men. We'll blunt the Eternals' blades without numbers. We've been doing that for a long time." But back with Tony and the others, Tony is quietly trying to formulate a plan, just as Phastos suggested. But before long, the alarms go off, indicating intruders again. Ajax looks around and says that there is an army of mutants attacking the Celestial. As Tony looks back, he sees Sinister disarming the alarms, and he shouts at him, "What are you doing?" Sinister deactivates the controls. Oops. Phastos says that he just opened up a way to the node. They're coming for that, and Tony yells that millions could die. The Sinister says that maybe, but billions will definitely live. You won't thank me, of course. I'm used to that. But you can say please and thank you later. Well, maybe you can't, since you really can't resurrect like us, so toodles! Within seconds of the attack on the progenitor, the Eternals principles activate. All of them are now placed under a trance-like state, all repeating to protect the Celestials. Outside, Jean says that they may as well drop the stealth tech. Why couldn't this just be easy for once? And Wolverine tells them, look on the bright side. We're all experienced in doing this the old-fashioned way. As the battle erupts, Jean rushes into the opening and Tony chases after, telling her that she needs to stop. She turns to him. I am sorry. And then attacks the node, telling the others that it is done. Tony says yes, it's done. And maybe we're done too. If this node goes, there's a chance that the whole Celestial goes. The shockwave could hit cities and... Jean stops. I didn't know. I should have known. Why didn't I know? She asks Tony if it's going to go off, and he looks back smiling. I just checked the readings. It looks like it'll all... But before he could finish, the progenitor begins to crack at its power leak. And then finally, it explodes, sending a shockwave of destruction all across the globe. And after a few moments of sheer pain, death, and agony, everyone blinks. Jean looks up. That wasn't real. We were inside of its mind this whole time. I should have known. The progenitor then speaks to the word. It tells everyone that their heroes think themselves above judgment. Now you will all see that you are mistaken. Your day ticks away. Justify yourselves. While everyone on both sides argues amongst themselves, Cersei sneaks into the exclusion while her guide tells her to be quiet. She says that she is being quiet, but Jack of Knives tells her that she just kicked a molecule and another and another. She tells him that she appreciates his help, but Jack says that he is not joining them. This is a job. This is just a paycheck. I'll get your target out. The two of them reach the vault door and a voice on the other side asks who's there. Cersei tells the man to be quiet. They're going to break him out. The world is in trouble, and she thinks that only he can help get the world singing from the same hymn sheet. Now she knows this is eternal business, but some of them have never just been Eternals. She thought perhaps it's time for a little of the old Avengers assemble for Starfox. Starfox leans forward, telling her, well, I love the idea. The world will have to realize that all you need is love. The world is still reeling for the progenitor's claim that everyone will be judged, and that the one person that everyone thought would pass didn't. But even though Captain America failed his test, he prays that the others will somehow manage. This brings riots in the streets, homes, and hearts. Captain America can't be everywhere, so instead, he speaks to any camera that anyone is listening to. He tells everyone that they're going to live, even though he tries not to show the sliver of doubt in his eyes. Still, he fights on. He needs to believe the world is fundamentally a good place, but the world may think different. Meanwhile, at Avengers Mountain with the newly liberated Starfox, the Eternals, along with Tony Stark, try to formulate a plan. Cersei suggests they just connect Starfox to the machine so that he can use his powers to emotionally manipulate the world into loving one another, just long enough so that they can pass the test of the Celestial. Starfox tells her, absolutely not. If he uses his abilities like that, they will fail. They will all. And if they can't even pass the test, they deserve. So if they can't believe that love can win, then what's the point? But that isn't to state that he doesn't have a plan. Starfox then meets with those in power. First, the mutants. There they discuss philosophy, single malts, and hard-nosed business. And he listens. Next, he meets with the kings and monarchs, the secret lords and the elected princes. He talks about whatever they wish to talk about, and he listens. He then meets with many people, and he listens. He empathizes. It is the other half of his powers. He finds common ground. It's when he is finally finished that he stands before the world and he tells them that they have a choice. They can choose life over death, but making a better world isn't easy, and they have to start somewhere. Mutants offered some technology before, now they can offer more. And that's not all of it. They've seen eternal tech at its worst. Imagine this tech at its best. If they agree to this package of human rights and environmental concerns, they'll have access to certain celestial tech. The Eternals will help them build a paradise, a world where all can love life as it deserves to be loved. However, Not all of the Eternals are on board with Starfox's message, at least not Druidge. Druidge knows that things are not going his way, even to the extent of having loyalists suggest that people worry that his rule will fail. But if he were to solidify his positioning, he'd have something with meaning, something that will take the eyes off of him. He could unleash the Unimind and destroy the mutants once and for all. Uranos tells him that does have merit. The Unimind is the most fundamental of their people's weapons, a fist formed of fingers, a bundle of sticks bound together to thrash the Lessers. But as an alternative, I am still here waiting. Druidge looks at Uranos, knowing that he could easily lay waste to the mutants. But there would be more devastation than anything. No, instead he will call the Unimind, call all of the Eternals to merge with it so that their actions may be swift. As the Eternals arrive, Cersei and Starfox are among them, and Druidge asks if they finally have come to their senses and joined the winning side. Cersei asks if he really thought he had any loyalists. It was them messaging him from the Unimind. After all, it's not just a weapon. Starfox says that it's also their democracy, and they call for an immediate vote for a new Prime Eternal. Druidge says that there's no way that they could win. He still has the numbers, but Cersei calls to Icarus and Gilgamesh, asking how is the infiltration and sabotage doing. From the inside of the machine, Icarus says that it is a task far easier when all of the Eternals are off making war. Moments later, the place only Eternals may have entered is opened up to others, and the mutants begin to pour in. Jean Grey is their voice, and she shouts that they all vote for Starfox. In Druidge's mind, he says that they're going to win. They're going to take it all away. Uranos tells him that he has one last chance. He is the Patriarch. If he is in the Unimind, then he controls all of the votes. Democracy would be removed and true tyranny would be resumed. Release him. Let them win together. The voting begins. It doesn't take long for Starfox to be voted the Prime Eternal. However, it doesn't stop what comes next. A portal opens, another one does as well, and then a swarm of them all opening a path out of the heart of the earth, each bringing cosmic hellfire onto the surface. Next, unthinking drones fly out to scour, sting, and sear. From the armories of the heart of the earth comes the incandescent power from the black heart of a dead star. And at this moment, Druidge realizes his mistake. However, there is hope, as Tony Stark believes that using some of the readings from Uranos' attack on Mars, he may be able to open a portal straight to him. But he will need an electromagnetic charge like they wouldn't believe. But he is pretty sure that there is someone among them who can handle that part. Moments later, as the charge is being given, Uranos asks who could possibly, and then stops. Aren't you supposed to be dead? Magneto tells him, foes always thought me to be heartless. I am merely made literal. But hate will serve long enough. There is a fight of cosmic scaling. But it is diversion. A diversion that lasts as long as it is needed to. Tony radios in telling Magneto that the hack is complete, that he has control of Uranos' portals. Suddenly, all of the destruction being brought upon the world is turned and focused onto one single person, Uranos. With him beginning to be reduced to almost ash, he is returned to his cell, giving Starfox the proper time to address the progenitor proper. He tells the Celestial that the world has been woken up in a mad rush to try and justify themselves. Sure, there's still problems. People are still fighting and there's still a war going on. They're still disagreeing about what right means, but look at what they've done. Peace and plans for a better future for everyone. We can make this world a heaven, but we need more than a day to do so. It's not too late unless you make it too late. It's all in your hands. Progenitor does not speak, but it lifts its hand. The world watches as they wait to see if it's going to go up or down. The progenitor thinks and then speaks. You have lived long enough. You have had 1,000,000 years. You'll never do enough. You have run out of tomorrows. The first to see the light, the end of the world, is Captain America. He holds up his shield to protect those that he can, but it is not enough. As he looks at all of the people who were just incinerated before his eyes, he realizes something. We're all going to die. As judgment is rendered, those able to start ahead of the Sundering flee, buying what little time they have left. But in New York, Cap sits down in a sea of ash as a woman walks up, handing him a coffee, telling him that she is sorry. He tells her that he is too. All of his life, he thought that he could inspire people to make a difference, that this world could be better. He thought that they could pass. The woman laughs. I knew that we'd fail, but I appreciate it. My name is Jade. I'm Steve. And the two sip their coffees. Cap and Jade begin to idly chat, but their conversation is cut short when Nightcrawler appears, telling Cap that he's going to save the world that hates, fears, and doesn't judge him. He thinks that everyone should see him give this false god a piece of his mind. Are you interested, Cap? Cap smiles. Sure, I've sat here long enough. I need to get up. He takes his hand, and Nightcrawler teleports Captain America way up to the North Pole, telling Cap that the professor is linking this to everyone. Give it a slap for us, Cap! Captain America looks up at the progenitor. You know, I've stood in front of tyrants before, and they were all sure that it was all over, that they had won. They were as sure as you are. Heroism isn't about strength. It's about not giving in, and the truth is, it's not over as long as any of us are still standing. The world can hear me, so know this. We are all Avengers now. Assemble and avenge! As the progenitor moves his hand over Cap and Nightcrawler, they're incinerated, just as the people of New York were. Seconds later, in Krakoa, Nightcrawler emerges from his resurrection pod asking how did it go. Jean says that it was just what the world needed. It's a bit more calm and anger, but that anger is directed. But now with no hope, Xavier asks what they need to do next. And Cyclops says that the best option they have is the same. There's a node inside of the progenitor. If they can hit it, they can destroy it. But before doing so, they'll evacuate the cities that could be caught in the fallout. Bishop says okay, they've got a target. What can the Eternals bring to the party? Starfox and Cersei say that they have a problem. Their first principle is protect the Celestials. If they try and attack, they'll begin to bleed from their eyes. However, they do have some interesting news. It appears that all of the Eternals have turned off their psychic firewalls. It would be terrible if someone were to just take over their minds and make them punch their god in the face. So with that, the call to arms is heard across the world. Every able body, whether it be human, mutant, or eternal, runs headfirst into what is most likely their doom. They fight and they fight and they fight, all while friendly faces all melt away in the cosmic fire. Not many survive. They did just fight against a celestial god. But as only a handful escape, the progenitor turns its attention back to Earth, to which the Earth pushes back, giving everyone precious seconds to live. Nightcrawler says that they tried the big hammer approach. Rest in peace, Thor. Now they try the scalpel. They're going to try the infiltration. And what little of the groups remained returned to the progenitor. Jack of Knives tells everyone that there's no point in even cloaking. It knows that they are there. He'll be damned if his last mission is a failure. That means that it's distraction time. Everyone get inside. Wolverine asks Jack what he's doing, and Jack asks, what did the flag guy say? Avenge me. Do that. Stab it deep for me. The team hurries in, and Jack rushes back out, calling the progenitor's attention. And just as he finishes calling it out, his body is turned to ash. Back home, Exodus tells Nightcrawler that they only have a few eggs left. Cyclops must return. If not, it's heresy. This is against all of the rules of Krakoa to do what you want to do. Nightcrawler tells him no. It's against our custom, and customs have a habit of being way too big for their boots. As long as we live, we try something new. It's what we do. Cyclops is a great leader, but he's not who the Earth needs right now. And as soon as the egg gets ready to hatch, an arm bursts through, holding a shield. The world has been judged. It has been found lacking, and while most of the world sinks into despair, there is a small group of heroes doing what they can to try and stop the progenitor from carrying out his sentence. After sacrificing many friends, Tony Stark has now led a small group into the inner workings of the progenitor in an attempt to destroy it from the inside out by striking its one weakness, the Destruct Node. They all climb into the newly formed god, the god created by Tony and the Avengers and the Eternals, to try and stop this war, only for it to decide to judge all of humanity. But as they go deeper, Tony is grabbed and thrown into his own judgment to see if he can pass. As he slips into it, he is in a world where he is accused of killing each of his friends in his life with his machines. Recent deaths, long ago deaths, all blamed upon Tony, until he is eventually shown his own parents' death, where his father tells him that there was nothing that he could have done to prevent it. As this judgment from the god comes to an end, Tony gasps, calling out for his father, breaking free from the green discs, and Cersei asks if everything's all right. They thought they lost him, but he takes a deep breath telling him that he's okay. He just needed to catch his breath. It was a lot. Cersei looks closer at the tears, telling him, "You poor man, it was torturing you." And Tony smiles. "Yes, no, Wes, my dad. He said that I was all he could have hoped for." Mr. Sinister chimes in. "Oh, that's a relief. The world is ending, but thankfully, Tony made up with his mean old daddy." Tony gets up telling him, "No, you idiot. Don't you get it? It was testing me. And if it was testing me, it's still testing us. And if it's still testing us, we can pass. We can all pass. We can save everyone." But after Tony's judgment, the group continues to maneuver their way through the progenitor in order to reach the destruct node, fighting the cosmic god's antibodies with every turn. But as they arrive upon the god's heart, or at least the thing that is monitoring the energy within the progenitor's body, it's Jean Grey who is attacked and judged roughly. She flashes back to the first day at Xavier's school, with the professor welcoming her to Xavier's School for the Gifted. She begins to relive her past sins, from becoming the Phoenix to the Dark Phoenix to killing her friends to fighting those around her. She tries to fight against it, but in the end, the progenitor just informs her, "You are the Phoenix, now and forever." And with that, she snaps back to reality. Moments later, outside of the progenitor's mind, she begins to cry, with Tony asking how did it go. "Please be good crying, please be..." But Jean says she failed. Tony yells out, "Damn it," and Wolverine tells him, "Don't you start. You have no idea what she's been through." And Ajax says that that is correct. She was protecting them from the engine plasma while debating with her god. Pass or fail, she is a significant being and deserves respect. Jean stops, still crying. "Do I? Whatever I do, it's never enough." And Wolverine helps her up. "The god who fails you and passes me is no god at all. Anything it tells you is wrong." And for a moment, she smiles, hugging him, telling him that he's too good to her. But that moment is short-lived as more antibodies begin to attack. However, the Horde is eviscerated as Jean unleashes her power, stating that destroying a world is unforgivable. How dare this Celestial? She will annihilate the hypocrite. She floats up, with Cersei stating that she seems to be out of sorts. Is there anything that we can do? And Wolverine tells her to just stay back and let Jean Grey work. She was always Chuck's star pupil. She's not used to failing tests. But as Jean continues to annihilate any of the incoming antibodies, Tony says that he thought that she wasn't the Phoenix anymore. Wolverine tells him that it's still Jean. She just has to work some things out. So the team reaches the next room, with Cersei commenting that these constructs are starting to rub up against their first principle. They won't be able to fight unless Jean Grey blocks it. The first principle prevents the Eternals from harming their own creator, their god. Jean needs to shut down their firewall so that they can actually fight. So Jean tells the Eternals to bypass the first principle, battling against their own creator. But as they do, Tony tells Cersei that he doesn't get it. He understands why everyone here is fighting except for her. She says, well, he did have her friends beat her up and kidnap her, remember? And Tony says that she's deflecting. She knows what he means. She says that she's here to represent the Eternals. Ajax and Makkari are priests and not entirely able to be trusted. So Tony asks, why would they trust her? Cersei failed her test. Why? So she remembers back to what she was judged for. When they discovered that in order for an Eternal to be revived from the dead, a human must die, and how she didn't tell anyone, and she was harshly judged for it. But then we cut over to Ajax, the priest of the Celestial, and we have a debate over freedom. How the Eternals are being judged even though they are beings incapable of breaking their word to their god and working against him. They don't have true freedom. They've never had freedom. The progenitor in her mind informs her that he will reactivate the firewall that prevents the Eternals from fighting against him, reverting what Jean Grey did. But in her final moments, she will have true freedom, whatever that means. So everything begins to fade away, and Jean asks if Ajax knows which way to go. And Ajax says that she does. It's this shaft, it will take them there. Tony asks if she's sure, but she tells him no. Of course she isn't, but she has faith. But now with the destruction of the world unfolding, some people have taken to just taking in what's about to happen. As Jada, the woman that Cap shared a cup of coffee with, sits looking up at the end of the world, she notices a yellow light shine behind her. She looks back up and Captain America reaches out of a portal telling her, "Get in, now!" Jada looks up asking, why did he come back for her? Cap says no. They came back for everyone. The Eternals opened their transport nodes all over Earth. They can use their cities as shelters until they win this. Meanwhile, back with Nightcrawler, Starfox asks how things are going. And Nightcrawler tells him that Phastos is resetting the machine to give them time. But though they are routing everything to try and avoid the machine self-destructing, they have about another 12 hours. Hell, maybe another day. The Infiltrators will have more time than they could hope for. But Cap steps in, stating that it must change their tactics. The Progenitor listens in, stating, "Once more, the man in the flag is correct. I have much of Tony Stark within me. I am an engineer. I believe in efficiency. I should be able to simply make the Earth explode. It was designed as such. Instead, the reality loom that lies in the heart of the machine, that is the Earth, is kept out of reach. I call, but it does not answer. So I must be more direct. Because while an engineer may wish to be efficient, a god needs not be." With a wave of his hand, the Progenitor creates a split in the Earth, giving him a direct path down to the planet's core. Starfox watches the reading, stating that he doesn't know what to do. A single hit, and the Progenitor will win. We don't have 12 hours or a day. Nightcrawler tells him that he is sorry to say this, but this isn't the situation that we can hug out. We fight! And Cap tells him, "You're right. Every minute counts." Inside of the Progenitor, the infiltration team continues to fight their way to the destruction node, but Makkari begins to notice something. Telepathically, Ajax agrees. When they passed through the last chamber, their god temporarily deactivated their protocols and resealed their firewalls. The mutants can no longer control them, at least not swiftly. For now, they are free to act however they wish. Cersei says that this is terribly bad timing to get exactly what they always wanted, right? Soon, everyone walks into the wide-open room with a statue of the Progenitor before them. Tony walks closer, waving his hand, stating that he isn't sure that it can see them here. And Jean focuses, stating that it means the distraction outside is working, that this is their chance. Her psychic totality will blow this sky high. Goodbye, everyone. If it explodes, hopefully the 5 are still active and can bring us back. But before Jean can unleash her power, Ajax reaches for her mace and strikes Jean from behind. Meanwhile, outside in the world, the Progenitor continues his march towards the reality loom, but suddenly Nightcrawler teleports Cap to him. Cap yells that it's not too late to stop, that he can surrender. "This is your last warning." The Progenitor looks at him. "You cannot stop me. I need but breathe and you become a thin mist of red. Yeah, we can't stop you, but we can distract you." Just then, a mangled and cobbled together Hex descends on the Progenitor, delivering a powerful blow, one that is strong enough to bring him to his knees. Back inside, Jean gets to her feet, telling Ajax to not interfere, but Ajax says of course she is swift to kill. Death is meaningless to the mutants. If they survive, they'll all be returned. They will inherit the Earth, but humanity dies. Tony then says that she is right. We end this and all those billions are still dead. Jean bleakly says, "Maybe we can't save everyone." Maybe we can. We can at least try. What's the other option? Ajax says that the other option would be to convince the Progenitor that its judgment is flawed, that this is still a test. Psychically, Jean tells Sinister to do it, and with a quick spin, Sinister shoots Ajax down. Jean then walks back towards the statue, stating that there is no time. She doesn't care about maybes anymore. They have to save who they can before they lose everyone. Now! The statue knocks Jean away, and the Progenitor says, "Of course, this is a test, which you have failed. I was questioning myself, and I have learned that you do deserve to die. You remain creatures solely guided by self-interest. Mutants would kill me, so you have less stakes. Some of your numbers would cheer as loudly as the humans cheered their deaths. Those who hate you stand with you only because there is no other option. If there was, they would take it, and then Eternals, even when free, prove they cannot change." Cersei says, "Oh hell, machine, broadcast me, snap snap." Her voice is carried to everyone around the world as she tells them that she has a message. Yes, she knows it's terrible timing, but time is running out. Her name is Circe of the Eternals, and she has something to tell them. The Eternals' immortality comes at a cost. Every time that they die, one of the humans dies to bring them back. They have used the humans as fuel for 1,000,000 years. They try to be angels, but they have a vampire's heart, and they do not choose to do this, but they do choose to not tell them. She has lied and manipulated good-hearted people to keep the secret, and she regrets that. She failed her test because she did so. She shouldn't have hidden her judgment from them. By doing so, she enraged this beastly star god. She should have accepted their judgment, not his. All of them as Eternals should, just as they wish. The progenitor listens to humanity, their thoughts all becoming focused on one thing. Circe should die. And she turns. See? They can change! But the progenitor stops her. Eternals have never died until now. With a wave of his hand, Circe is destroyed. Tony shouts, "You cut her off!" But she was right. If an Eternal could change, any of us can. This proves nothing. It merely shows another way that you all deserve to die. Yes, perhaps we do, Ajax says. But do you deserve to kill us? You said this is all a test. It is, but also for you. We wanted a better god. You do this and you fail. Jean walks up. I killed a planet and you failed me for it. You said that I could never come back from that. Whoever I was then, I was out of control. You're doing this with a cold heart. Once you're done, it's done. You will have to live with that, can you? The progenitor pauses for a moment. It does not matter if I stop. Less than 1 billion still live. It is done. Bull! That doesn't work. You passed me for whatever lunatic reason. You still have me in there in some messed up way. And I'm sometimes out of my depth. Sure, but I try to make amends. So what can you do? Do that! Don't do this! The progenitor says that it could destroy him, and Tony tells him that's the deal, right? You do it every day and every night. If someone as big as a mess as me can be a hero, anyone can. That's what being a hero is all about. In that moment, the progenitor begins to think to himself, what sort of god would I be if I facilitated? Perhaps not a god at all, but I am certainly akin to a god in many ways. A god is omnipotent. I do remember where everything was before I tore it apart. I can put things back into place. So am I a god? That would mean that my judgment is flawless. But see, if I was truly omnipotent, I would be without limits. I am not, clearly. I am not a god. I can make mistakes and I can make amends. So I will put things back to where they were before my judgment, whatever it costs me. As everything turns to white, the progenitor nails down, stating that he has given up everything to save everyone. She is my make. Am I a worthy god? Ajax stares at him. As hard as it is, she gives him a thumbs down, saying no. You are correct. I ask of you this. Be better. In a flash, everything returns as it was before the judgment. Tony scans the world, stating that he is getting signals from all over the world. Uranus' damage is still there. The eternal war scares are still there, but billions are breathing again. As everyone looks around, they ask, where is Ajax and Circe? And then a voice tells them, it removed its own judgment. And everyone turns to see Ajax, imbued with the power of the progenitor, floating before them. Humanity wished Circe dead, so she is. She is a martyr for our new church. She bought us a chance of redemption for the fallen people. Makari motions, asking if that is Ajax, and she says in part, she is now Ajax Celestia. Once eternal, ever eternal, she is their new god. She will strive to be worthy of them, if they strive to be worthy of her. As the world mended, there was a complete restructure of the Eternals. Starfox gave up being Prime Eternal to Zuras, who then offered the mutants a treaty of alliance to make them an offering just as they unleashed Uranus on them for an hour. They can now unleash Uranus as they see fit. Druidge is sentenced to serve his time, right beside Uranus, who already has plans for him. As for the mutants, they realize that their power to bring people back to life is a powerful thing, which is why Jean founded the Phoenix Foundation. It is something independent from Krakoa, who will be selecting those who receive this gift. It will prioritize the vulnerable, the weak, the poor, and those whom the world has abandoned. That as the day comes to an end, Cap takes off his costume and returns to New York with Jada asking what is this about. He sits beside her, stating that he owed her a cup of coffee. How is she doing now? She tells him worse and better, better and worse, but this doesn't prove anything. Cap says yeah, he knows. She was right. Maybe it was right. It's not a good world, but you never know. Thank you for watching today's episode of Full Story, where we take stuff from Comicstorian, combine it into a giant video so that you can enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here.